Alright, yeah, welcome back to some more Magic the Gathering Arena, and today we're going to be playing some historic Brawl with a brand new Neon Dynasty commander. We are going to be playing around with Tameshi, whose name, following that, escapes me. Reality Architect, that's the one. A 3-mana 2/3 legendary Moonfolk wizard. Whenever one or more non-creature permanents are returned to hand, draw a card. This ability triggers only once each turn. And then for X and Y, you return a land you control to its owner's hand, and return an artifact or enchantment card with mana value X or less from your graveyard to the battlefield, but you can only do this as a sorcery. This card is sweet. It makes for some extremely interesting deck building restrictions. So you can do a number of things with this one. You could make it artifact and enchantment matters decks. You could make it a bounce tribal deck. You could make it just an artifact deck, just an enchantment deck, or you can do what I did, and make it blue-white control that cares mostly about artifacts, but also has some good value enchantments in there as well. So Tameshi is actually a finisher in our deck, rather than an enabler of our deck. That actually makes it a lot more resilient, a lot more powerful, I think, when you're not so reliant on your Tameshi, because we don't really need him to win the game, and, you know, we can bring him down whenever we want. We don't have to bring him down on 3, we can bring him down on turn 12 if we want, and just use him to recur things like Elspeth Conquers Death, paying 6 mana total for Tameshi, bouncing a land and getting an ECD back. You know, this card's stupid powerful. You can kind of see where this will go. So we are an artifact and enchantments matter control deck, I would say, but we have a lot of artifacts in here that are really like the enablers of Tameshi. Things like Hope of Girapa, a 1-mana 1/1 with flying. You can sacrifice Hope of Girapa, and until the end of your next turn, target player who has dealt combat damage by Hope of Girapa can't cast non-creature spells. So you can hit your opponent with this, you can sack it, and then you can bounce one of your lands to reanimate it with Tameshi, and then hit them next turn with it, basically banning your opponent from playing non-creature spells. Really limits what our opponent can do, and, you know, it's a pretty sweet lock there as well. We've also got things like Slayer's Bounty, a 1-mana legendary artifact as well, and when it enters the battlefield, you get to look at the creatures in your opponent's hand, which for a control deck, that's super useful, knowing exactly what you're going to be going up against. And then you can also sacrifice it to draw a card, and when you sacrifice it, you get access to one of the 15 cards in the spellbook. All of them are removal, so plays really nicely into a control deck as well, just drawing removal spell after removal spell, especially things like Bounty Agent, which can destroy a legendary permanent that's an artifact, creature, or enchantment, so you can get rid of your opponent's commander with just Bounty Agent, which is really nice. So some of these are not going to be too useful, but, you know, every time you sack this, you're drawing a card from your deck, which hopefully is going to be a useful card, and then you get a pick of 3 of any of these, and, you know, 9 times out of 10, I'm sure you're going to find one that's actually got some use in it. So yeah, we can do a fair bit of stuff with this one. The key to the artifacts and enchantments in this deck are the ones that can basically sacrifice themselves so that they're in the graveyard for Tameshi later down the line. So those are the ones we're kind of looking for, which is why we've got the Hope of Girapa and the Slayer's Bounty. We also, interestingly, have another way of using Tameshi, and that is the lands that get bounced. Things like Treasure Map, a 2-mana artifact. You can pay 1 to scry 1, and then you put a landmark counter on Treasure Map. Then, if there are 3 or more landmark counters on it, you remove those counters, transform Treasure Map, and create 3 treasure tokens. So Treasure Map becomes a land that you can then sacrifice to draw cards, up to 3 with your treasures, which is really nice. And once you've run out of treasures, this card loses its value, unless you use Tameshi to bounce a land to return an artifact or enchantment card from your graveyard to the battlefield. So you can reanimate things like a Spare Supplies to draw a card, and bounce the treasure map back to your hand, allowing you to do the scry loop all over again, giving you that card draw. We also have Mystic Sanctuary in the deck. This one will put an instant or sorcery on top of your library if you've got 3 or more islands, so you can bounce that one later down the line as well to get you back your control pieces, like your counter spells, your negates, things like that. Maybe even just a big ol' win con. I pretty much consider Seagate Restoration a big old win con. You can get back these big spell lands as well, returning those, and getting to do nasty things there as well. So you don't have to be afraid of using your spell lands, because you can always get them back later down the line whenever they're useful. So your disruption on 1 is a perfectly reasonable thing to do, because you can disruption on 10 and all the same. But yeah, we're a control deck, so it should really speak for itself. We got counter spells, we got a couple of bounce spells here just to, you know, actually use Tameshi in here. Not a huge deal in that regard. And then we've also got a lot of Wraths. Wrath of God, Day of Judgment, by invitation only, Doomscar, and the brand new one from Kamigawa, Farewell, 6 mana sorcery. Exile all artifacts, all creatures, all enchantments, and all graveyards, and you can choose any number of those things depending on your needs. Obviously, we've got quite a fair few artifacts in our deck, so we're probably not going to be hitting artifacts, and we care somewhat about our graveyard, so we're probably not going to be picking that, but you always can as a panic button if you really need to. As we said, we're not too tied into using Tameshi at any point in the game. Even to win the game, we don't really need Tameshi, but it will pretty much snowball into a victory for us. But yeah, that's essentially the deck. If you do enjoy it, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. I would really appreciate that quite a lot. This deck is quite fun, but make sure to see the gameplay to see if this deck is for you, because it is a bit of a weird one. It's not an easy deck to pilot. I think even I've not really scratched the surface of this list, and I built it. There's just a lot of things you can be doing with this deck at any given time. I guess another one that I'll mention as well is things like Frogify. Creatures lose all abilities and become a 1/1. You can reanimate this with your Tameshi, so you can turn your opponent's commander into a 1/1 with no abilities, happily block it, let your opponent replay it, and then you can just reanimate the Frogify all over again. So, you know, you can really shut down your opponent's commander for good with this list as well. So it's really nice in that kind of prison-y style, getting to do those kind of things. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed today's video, and let's get to it. This video is brought to you by the generous support of our wonderful patrons and channel members that you see here. If you'd like to support the channel and get access to cool content like sneak peeks, bonus videos, polls on future content, or access to a personal deck critique from myself every month, then hit the join button down below, or check out the Patreon link in the description. With all that said, let's get into the gameplay. Alrighty, opponent goes first. We have not a very interactive hand, admittedly, but the mana's good. I think I might just keep it. We're up against Ishin 2 Heavens as 1. A Panharmonicon of sorts. If a creature attacking causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. It's a pretty popular commander right now. I dare say it's almost exclusively because it's new right now. But it does some cool stuff. Fable of the Mirror Breaker, making a 2/2 here. I'm going to go Radiant Fountain, Mox Amber, and Tameshi. That way we can at least block the 2/2, because that can make treasures. We don't really want that to happen. Although I guess it makes 2 treasures, right? Yeah. Ishin coming down this turn could make them 2 treasures. So they could play their commander and still have a 3 mana removal spell. Delina's very spooky. But we have the answer to that one at least. I'm pretty sure I just want to... Do I want to bounce Delina? Probably, because it could attack next turn with anything that's in their hand and copy that instead. So let's get bouncing Delina. As much as I really just want to kind of use it as a kill spell for a 2/2. It's not really going to get me anywhere, I don't think. Gonna need a catch-up card soon. Alright, there's Ishin, so they can attack for 2, lose their token if they want, and do a thing. I'm happy for a sweeper here. If you want to hand one of those over. We're not really tied towards... Oh, great. A turn too late. Hope of Girapa. Yeah, it's not ideal. I guess I could Restoration of Iganjo. Let's make sure that I've got Wash Away open. Let's go Restoration. Get a Plains. Play the Plains. And then just hold up and Wash Away, because I really do not want to see Delina here, I don't think, because Reflections can probably make a token copy of it. Oh, it's non-legendary. Either way, I want to hold up my counterspell here. I don't think we win if anything horrible happens here. We're quite far behind already. I'd like for it to stop being the case. Okay, so they're going to make a copy of their little token. Get in and make 1,000,000 mana. And again, this is a good reason to have Wash Away up. Let's get rid of the one that isn't going away at the end. Poison the Cup. If I don't do anything about this, I can counter the follow-up spell. Basically, I'm using a counter spell to kill a 2/2 that's making lots of treasures. I'm digging for a board wipe anyway. I think I'll just let it happen. Oh, I suppose that stops me from having blue mana open for blue now. Oh, bugger. Well, they didn't play into it anyway, so that's okay. But unfortunately, I didn't do anything either. Discard a card, yeah. Let's put a Plains into the trash and get it back. And then get a creature. So I can play Key to the Archive, which stops Delina from being played. So no 4-drops for you. Hopefully we get a good spell here. Counter spell. And Lightning Helix. Still don't have that double blue open. I wonder if I actually ignored the auto tapper there and could have gotten a good one. I mean, I feel like I have to take Lightning Helix. And then let's put Hope of Girapur in the trash for now. Yeah, I don't know. There's some catch-up to be done here. But no 4-drops for them. They've got a 3-drop though. Non-legendary copying on the Reflection. Same for Adelaine as well. Although I think Adelaine triggers on any creature attacking. Still looking for that board wipe. Let's see if they get in with the token. They'd still get in with the token. Interesting. Well, we know where we're at. We know the situation. We're dead if we don't find a board wipe. We've got like 6 of them in the deck. Aha! Alrighty. Good stuff. Alright, there's our catch-up card if I've ever seen one. So I'm going to get in for my 3. We have less than 13 creatures, so we are going to have a clean sweep here, even through indestructible spells. So let's make sure I've got all my blue open. No 5-drops for you next turn. For whatever that's worth, which is probably not much. I'm just going to go for the full 13 here. There's really no reason not to. So take all those out. We could Mirari's Conjecture, or I could hold open all of my spells. What would Conjecture even get me? It wouldn't get me anything at first, so I would probably want to wait until I've used either Wash Away or Lightning Helix so I can get the full value out of my Conjecture. Smothering Tithe. I mean, they've got infinite mana, haven't they? You can just have infinite +1. Enjoy that. That one, on the other hand, is an absolute no-no oopsie. Get that out of here. Used all their treasures as well, so... pretty happy with that. Just gonna go for the scry. Alright. So I want to be able to hold up and wash away and play my conjecture, and I can do that and still pay here, so I'm going to. Let's leave open Helix, I suppose. Play my island. Use as much of my white as possible here, I think. There we go. Instant. Wash away, please. And pass. Now I'm liking where we're at. Mirari's Conjecture is going to get us back a board wipe. We've got single targeted removal, plus on the stack-based removal. Don't care about that, because we got the Helix. You can have your Scry, or whatever you want to choose here. Gain 1 life. Sure. We're a control deck. Your life total is not terribly important to me. Just going to go for a draw. Land for the turn, and I'll just Helix the Nadar here. I think that's an okay card to hit. Slayer's Bounty, not too bad. I will pay here. So, Sweeper comes back. Now we've got Counter and Sweeper. Our opponent is crying. Yeah, that was a beautifully chef's kiss timed Sweeper there. We had plenty of them, so there was a decent chance we were going to find it. And yeah, it was just the catch-up card we really needed. This deck needs to catch up a lot, it seems. But yeah, once we can get a big powerful spell as a follow-up down, like Mirari's Conjecture getting us back, Counterspell and board wipe, I think we're in a pretty good spot. Eventually we can do like Slayer's Bounty, sacking this to draw a card, and hitting the... lovely removal spells that are attached to this, and then we can use Tameshi to bounce Radiant Fountain, and that would gain us a Slayer's Bounty back, and we can just keep looping that over and over again, drawing a million cards. So yeah, not tied to having Tameshi in the early game, but in the late game, once you've got too many lands and not enough things to do, that's when you can start bouncing your lands, especially your utility lands, and making good use out of them. So yeah, pretty sweet, pretty good showing for the deck, and on to the next one. Rutro. We're up against Jin Cataxius, Progress Tyrant. A commander, I would say, that kinda absolutely craps all over us if it resolves. Whenever you cast an artifact, instant, or sorcery spell, which is the majority of my deck, you can counter that if it's me that's doing it. Otherwise, they doing it copies it. It doesn't stop on enchantments though, right? So if it comes down, I can transmutation it with Pact of Negation backup, maybe. Alright. We'll take it. I don't think Circle of Confinement's really going to do much for me here, but... you know, it is what it is. So let's go Temple. I'm honestly just happy finding lands here. I'll bottom the 3-mana card that I probably won't be able to play on turn 3. I suspect our opponent will be ramping. They certainly are. I didn't have my finger on the trigger quick enough there, so our opponent now knows that I am fully capable of pacting of negationing them. Oops. We did get our 4th mana though, with the Fabled Passage being untapped now. That one's a nice one. We can do Search for Canter and maybe Swan Song it. It's a good card to have in play. Spell Pierce. So I can't pay for it, obviously. I can give them a 2/2. Which might just eat another counterspell, but I think I'm okay fighting over that just to eat another counterspell. I don't think it's a huge deal. Jwari's Disruption. Deal. They still get their Swan Song because they countered the correct spell. Arcane Signet. So there are 3, 4, 5, 6. They could have Jin Cataxius next turn. I've got Juari's Disruption. So if they could have Jin Cataxius next turn, I don't think I'm going to care about Juari's Disruption. So let's just go Tameshi here. Get that down. Nice. Could just get bounced maybe, but I don't think that's too much of an issue. This will help me get Search for his counter back, maybe. And yeah, I really don't mind a tap out here. Mass manipulation, I really kind of hate that. I'm going to swords my own creature so I gain the life. I think is the plan. Since I can't stop it. Obviously, they have a 2-2. I'd much rather gain the life than let them have it. Got Roadside Reliquary. So now I can go Tameshi again. Still hold open Pact to Negation if I want to do that. I mean... yeah, let's do it. Let's Pact it. We take the turn off. But we also command attacks them. They're going to need a land to get that back down. And I can Transmutation it later. And still make my land drop. Very nice. Let's just check. It can become a 3-3. I can get hit for quite a fair bit here, honestly, but I'm not stopping any of this with my Tameshi, so... gonna need some help. Perfectly happy with another tap out here. I think they have to sack the Mimic to use the Mimic. That's really annoying! Stop being annoying! To my hand, please. Okay. So what's the second part of this? Return an artifact from your graveyard to your hand if you can't draw a card. So they're going to draw a card. What do I want then? I guess a Farewell could be a thing. That's probably like my best draw. Bounty of the Deep. That'll get me a land and a spell. Guess that's what I'm doing. Let's use my colorless. Just in case, you never know. All of the Storm Giants and the Bang Bus. Okay. I'm just gonna, I think, circle the 2-2. I really need to protect my life total at this point. I can't stop any of the creature lands. I can't stop the Mimic. So, at the very least, I can stop this 2-2. We can Transmutation the Jin Cataxius if it comes down. That stinks. Yeah, we're just incapable of getting a grip on this game. Key to the Archive. Yeah, I think I'm, like, maybe even just dead on board right now. Because they've got 7... yeah, I mean... It's not great. It's not great. We just really didn't do anything. Unfortunately. I guess we'll play Key to the Archive. We'll see what we get. Don't imagine there's anything particularly powerful that this could grab me. But I suppose you never know. Lightning Bolt, Electrolyze, Growth Spiral. Yeah, I mean, none of these are good either. And I can't even cast them this turn anyway. So let's just take Electrolyze and put it in the trash. And... yeah, I mean, really, what are we doing? Yeah, I'll just concede. I don't think there's any point playing this out any further. On to the next one. Ooh, alright, we're in on the play against Kaza Royal Chaser, a little pet deck commander of mine, actually. I haven't visited in a while, but maybe we'll revisit that soon. It's very cool. We're gonna keep this hand, although it's a bit sketchy. But I think it could work. I really just want to hit the Kaza as early as possible. So Kaza is a 2-mana 1/2 with flying and haste. Says the next instant or sorcery spell you cast this turn costs X less to cast, where X is the number of wizards you control as this ability resolves. It's pretty sweet. So it's a nice little wizard tribal big spell cost reducer. You can build it any number of ways. I built it in a like combo finishy tempo kind of strategy. And yeah, the people I played against weren't too pleased when it went off. It's got the capability, or at least my version does anyway, has the capability of drawing the entire deck, so something to be aware of. By invitation only, okay. I've got to ask myself, do I want to touch this with the Spirit Realm? And kind of into that idea. I can always sweep with, you know, my 2 sweepers in hand, and I want to play something on 4 anyway, so I want to make sure I'm using my mana in a nice way. So let's get rid of Electrostatic Field. Something I got to note, on turn 5, if I do feel like playing Pact to Negation, I do need to remind myself I need 2 blue mana. Don't let me do it, chat. Don't let me do it. Opponent drops the Kaza. I guess I could just go with Key to the Archive here, and short of them having, like, Negate with Kaza cost reduction or Spell Pierce, that'll give me the double blue I need. Alright, they let it go. Got Day of Judgment and Lightning Helix. So I already have 2 sweepers. So I'm not too interested in Day of Judgment, because I've kind of got that covered. I don't really have good non-creature permanent removal, and I could save myself spending mana on a sweeper by taking the Lightning Helix. I think I'm going to go with D-Spark. And since I got Key to the Archive, let's dump a Ganjo, I guess. I don't know. Bit of an odd one. I don't really see Kaza attacking us all that much, and if it does, it's only 1 point. It's typically a good sign that our opponent doesn't have anything good to do. So if they hit us for like 1 a turn for the next few turns, that's totally fine. Yeah, that's totally fine. Bone Crusher Giant. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with what just happened there for me. Let's go to Tameshi. We don't have a good thing to do with it right now, but oh, do I actually? No, I want to leave open Key to the Archive just in case I have to D-Spark here. I'm okay with getting this countered. I really don't care. I'm actually trying to bait them into doing it. Memory Lapse my Tameshi. So do I want to draw a card next turn, or do I want to save on command attacks? I think I'll put it on the top of my library. Opponent ramping up a little bit. So they can play 6 mana instants and sorceries here. There's another wizard. Still play 6 mana instants and sorceries. That's kind of the cool part about Kaza. It's all their 1 mana wizards, and there are a fair few of them. Basically free to play. Yeah, so you just told me you had a card you wanted to play. Okay, good to know. Alright, so we're going to put Tameshi in our hand. Make sure I use my Field of Ruin. Play Tameshi again. And pass the turn. It won't be like Graven Law or anything like that. What's their instant speed? 6 mana spell. Oh, discover the formula. No. I actually want you low on resources. I'll take a Pact to Negation for that. Let's see what they flip over. Thassa's Intervention. Okay, so that could counter my D-Spark. And I'll be down on D-Spark next turn, I think, because of the forced tap of Key to the Archive here. Thinking, that's fine. I'm not one of those players who insists on you making the wrong decision really quickly. Yep, Torrent Sculptor's fine. It's only got Ward 2, so I can actually kill that with D-Spark, but I don't actually care to, because they've dropped their double blue. I do care to, actually. Yeah, so they've got nothing else to cost reduce. I care to because I'm going to be spending mana on Pact of Negation. Just check there's nothing, nothing relevant in my graveyard there. So, pay the 2 here, pay the 2 there. Forced to pay for Pact of Negation like so. Confounding Conundrum. I mean, it's my only thing to do right now, and it's a redraw. It's not going to be likely too effective in this matchup, admittedly, and I guess Tameshi can get in as well, because we don't have to worry about Hall of the Storm Giants. And yeah, let's see what happens here. I can suit up Cave of the Frost Dragon to block our opponent's stuff. They're going to go with a Karza activation, so 2 cost reduction on whatever they want to do here. Just going to be a big intervention. And by big, I mean just X2. Leaving open counterspell mana, and opening up the sweeper for us. Alright, they need Pact of Negation, otherwise I'm pretty happy with this. We're going to go by invitation only or farewell? This is the question. Either way, I'm losing my Tameshi. Guess I will get in with my Tameshi, see if they want to block. Free 2 points of damage, maybe? Only punishable by them actually having Pact of Negation after all. I don't think they can really make anything indestructible, and this only gets creatures, so I'm gonna assume... Yeah, well, it turbo resolved, so no Pact of Negation in their hand. I'm going to assume the exile clause here that could also hit enchantments and graveyards is much more useful to me. So they can get back out their Karza, leaving up 2 to 3 mana. Maybe even up to 4, because it has haste. So if they got a land drop, they can play 4 drops. They got nothing to play. Pretty confident with that assessment. Treasure map's a pretty good one. I'm excited to see how this works with Tameshi. Never mind. Alright, well, I'm gonna get my Tameshi down. We'll get it back next turn. Yeah, so the cool thing about Treasure Map is it becomes a land when it transforms after you're done using it, and Tameshi can bounce Treasure Cove, putting Treasure Map back in my hand for me to replay. So once I'm done sacking all those treasures, then good stuff can begin. Niv Mizzet is a must deal with threat, I dare say. So can I don't think I can do Farewell and get Treasure Map back. Or is that a lie? 3 mana. Oh yeah, could. Alright, so we do this. That's X2. That leaves me with 2, 4, 6. Yeah, so as long as they don't have Spell Pierce, I can X2, get back Treasure Map. Bouncing an island, I guess. Drawing a card. Iteration's not bad. Could make them just replay Niv Mizzet, but I would risk setting our opponent up with a potential counterspell on the following turn. This way I can still hit all the creatures. Leave my graveyard alone, I think. They get a redraw here. They can do a ping. I risk them having an answer later down the line. I don't really want them to, so then we'll just do that with our upkeep stop on treasure map. Pass the turn. Getting rid of Niv Mizzet's huge for us. We've actually dealt with a lot of their big threats that could have ended the game. Like, we got rid of Niv Mizzet, we got rid of Discover the Formula. This little pinger here even could get there. We're really taxing Kaza until it's not viable for them to really play it anymore. 4-mana Demi-Lich drops all their blue, and I can bounce it next turn. So let's go treasure map. I'm looking for... I was going to say I'm looking for a counterspell, but that one might be a bit much. So let's bottom that. I do want to start thinking about leaving up and Field of Ruin here. So let's not just tap the colorless by... Yeah, okay, I'll take a negate. Okay, main phase. Let's tap my key to the archive. Play Iteration here. Opponent's got a playable. Let's get rid of Demi-Lich. And we can play Searcher's Canter here. But we lose the ability to hit Hall of the Storm Giants. And play around conditional counterspells with negate. I think that's okay. I think I'm happy to take 7. Just to get a search down. Really start looking for the good old cards. We're almost close to flipping it as well. I think once that happens, we'll be in a good spot. Don't have an artifact for the Iterations Chapter 2, so that's just going to draw us a card. Which I'm also just okay with. Opponent eyed up their graveyard. That could just mean they're reevaluating the need to play Demi-Lich over maybe attacking me with Hall or playing an alternative card here. Love to see them just passing. Nothing better than seeing that. I'm gonna do search first, I guess. I don't really know. Maybe there's one that's strictly better than the other, but it's a good card to flip with the Tameshi, but I'm not too fussed about that. I think I'll take my treasure map value by binning that card. Day of Judgment. We have run out of a sweeper. So, backup sweeper's okay. Let's draw that for the turn. Draw another card. Forsaken Crossroads. Is Crossroads a Scryland or a tap land? We're actually going to put this on black. Reason being, we have a D-Spark in the pool now. So that means that we don't have to rely on Key to the Archive or our treasures as much. And I think I'm just passing here. Let our opponent make the decisions about what they want to do. Torrential Gear Hulk. That's going to go for Discover the Formula. I'm going to have to go for the negate on that. It's not a card I can really allow. Really? Oh, I exiled it, of course. Just to consider. You can have a consider. So you get Stormcaller in the trash. And pass. Yeah, Day of Judgment's our only good answer to Gear Hulk here, so we kind of hope that our opponent commits a little bit further into this board. Or taps out. I really would prefer not to use both of my spells to get rid of a Gear Hulk here, but obviously our life total suggests that we don't really have a choice in that matter. Might even regret losing the Radiant Fountain, funnily enough. We've got 2 cards I don't really want to cycle back into my deck, but at the same time, hitting the Hall might be something I want to do sooner rather than later. I guess it would give our opponent double blue, so I don't want to do it now. So let's see what Search gets us. Fairy's Ageless Insight. I like that one. Something we could return with Tameshi, though. Yeah, I think I'd much rather try and return it with Tameshi. Let's transform the Search. Basically, I'm looking for counterspell backup in this scenario. And obviously, we didn't really get it. We just got a bounce spell. Let's draw an additional card. Let's get our perfect information before we decide what we want to do here. Got a treasure vault. Okay, I think I'm going for the sweeper. We'll do it like this. Destroy all creatures. No 4-drops for you next turn. So they couldn't cast Demi-Lich out of their graveyard now because of that effect. And let's pass. I do at least have flash protection with the retrieval now. What a game. This is fun. Maybe not so much for our opponent, but, you know, we're both control players here. I would assume that they like grindy matchups. Banefire X9. Yeah, that's lethal. So much for a fun game, eh? No commit to memory. And, yeah. That'll do it. Well then. Could we have beaten that? Yeah, I guess we could. Do you remember that Radiant Fountain I binned? That would have bought me a turn at least. Other than that, though, I don't remember if I have commit to memory in here. I don't think I do. So, yeah, I think that card's just going to beat us any day of the week. Let's have a look. I'm curious if I put it back in. I think I could it. It was in here once. But that's kind of the only card that could really do it. I don't think we've got any other return spell to hand kind of things. Yeah, no Pact to Negation. And don't think we've got any spell returns. No, not really. So it's just a matter of gaining life out of range, which is possible. We got like Potion of Healing. We got our Radiant Fountain, as we mentioned, but... And I guess we could Swords our own creatures. Hope of Girapa, lock them. There's things we could do there, but yeah, it's kind of going to be a card that gets us quite a lot of the time, and it's not a card I've seen in a very long time either, so it's not really a thing that I'm going to change the deck about at all, so yeah, sweet. Well, let's go on to the next one. Alrighty, opponent goes first. We have a 2-lander with a pretty weird hand. We're up against the first sliver, so... Yeah, I think I'm going to take the free mull on this. I don't really appreciate the 2-lander. We don't have any sweepers if it is going to be sliver tribal. If it's the Tybalt's Trickery nonsense deck, then I just want to counterspell so I can win. So, yeah, this hand has nothing I can beat this game with. This struggles with its colours, but it does have a sweeper. Weird. I could fix with Field of Ruin as well, and maybe mana screw them if their mana base is greedy enough. I'm going to keep this one. I think I could probably survive up to turn 6, or up to 6 mana, that is. Overgrown Tomb for our opponent. So I'm just going to go Radiant Fountain pass. Yeah, so any land is good here. We can play Spare Supplies. Alright, so it is not the Tybalt's Trickery version. Our opponent is playing a sliver deck that does more than one thing. There's a Triome. I will test them to figure out whether or not Field of Ruin does something here. At some point, anyway. I'm just going to start with spare supplies first. Command tower, fantastic. Alright, as long as we're making our land drops towards Farewell, and Invitation only as well, I think we'll be okay. More so Farewell, because this could be not Sliver Tribal, it could actually just be a deck that cascades. Which you do typically see quite a little bit. Right, so... got 4 mana, they could have the first Sliver plus a Cascade down next turn. I'm gonna go with... Search for Azcanta here. Get that ticking. Just gonna have to deal with what our opponent does for the next few turns, I think. Also, by the way, they do have a Plains, so that leads me to believe they're a good deck builder with a good idea, a good head on their shoulders about not getting Ghost Quarter locked. I'll definitely put that in the trash for now. We can get it back later. So yeah, we're not a huge fan of this scenario right now. I don't really want to retrieval the first Sliver. I think it'll do more harm than good. Yeah, I just kind of want to work my mana a little bit more. While also not committing to artifacts maybe too much. So maybe I sack spare supplies here. Get a cast out. Play my land for the turn. And then maybe just go cycle cast out. Cycle cast out, and I guess I have retrieval to protect my search for Azcanta as well. So, upkeep, stop, treasure map. See what they want to do with that. To the bottom. They do not like that card. I don't like skipping my land drops, so we're going to hit one. We're going to hit one in the next few draws. We've got Cast Out Cycle plus Azcanta Surveil. Our opponent is committing so hard into artifacts. I love it. So we're going to do creatures and artifacts. We don't want to hit the Search for Azcanta, and ideally we don't really want to hit our own graveyard either. So, yeah, let all of this happen. Ow. Cloud Shredder Sliver post-combat. Extremely strange, but I'll accept it. And there's a Mox Amber that I can hit. Oh, this is going to be so wonderful. When we finally get to that Farewell, I'm going to be so happy. Alright. Cycle Cast Out. I am probably going to, like, buy Invitation only, this board. Is that true? That could be true. Yeah, I'll take that. Is that true? This takes me off Farewell next turn. I guess I could Baffling End the Cloud Shredder Sliver this turn. Yeah, it's a good card to hit. I'm not going to Farewell my own enchantment here. So we should be pretty happy with what goes on. I have the little panic button of cleaving Alchemist Retrieval here to bounce whatever I don't like. Should I choose to not like it. So they get another stop on Treasure Map. If they bottom again, this Field of Ruin looks a lot better as well, because it's going to shuffle back in cards they don't like. But they did top that one. And draws it for the turn. Draws with the Tome. Come on, play something into this board. Tap out. Yes! Everything's a sliver until it's not. Alright, take 7. My turn. Another Doomscar. I've already got by invitation only. Let's put Doomscar in the trash. Counterspell. It's a good one. It's not good for this follow-up here. So I'm going to hit artifacts, I'm going to hit creatures. I'm going to leave my graveyard alone. I'm going to leave my enchantments alone. Let's go. Lovely. That's them not casting the first sliver next turn. And maybe we can get to Kiora Best of Seagore just in time for some nasty stuff to happen there as well. Maybe steal that Kiora. That would be nice, right? This is me bolting myself. That's what that is. Kinda not a fan of that. I could just retrieval and play a tap land, hold up and counterspell. I can't do counterspell and retrieval unless I Field of Ruin, then maybe. Do this, Field of Ruin, your Zagoth Triome, get more blue. Do you have more than one basic? Or did I just Stone Rain you? Okay, they got a blue. Which they already had. I didn't stop them from doing anything there. So now I have 3 blue. I could do this, bounce your Kiora. No counterspell in hand, so their bluff is cheeky but pointless. Alright, I'm just going to hold up and counterspell here. Uncertain if I actually care about Kiora more than I do just like tempoing them here. So perhaps I just let that happen again. Because it's not doing anything. Put that in the yard. 3, 6, 7. So if I draw a land, I get to hold up and counterspell and do this. I got Swords to Plowshares though, that's pretty huge as well. Let's make an 8/8. They need a land for the first sliver. And then I can plow it. Oh no, they don't. They've got the Kiora, of course.
The ocean surges, life thrives.
But depending on what the sliver hits here, we might not be too upset. That was a Putrefy, artifact or creature. Gutted. Oh, that's so lovely. I'll just give that a good old ploughing. And then we'll kill the Kiora. I think this is last known information, so they draw a card. Yeah. Minimus Containment. Love to see it. I mean, I could let them keep the Kiora, but I can take a permanent instead, so I can just take one of their lands. I think this game's over.
Gonna go for a swim and cool off.
Let's play Tameshi. And let's return a land with Tameshi and get back spare supplies, I guess. 2, 3. So X2, spare supplies. Bounce an island. Could also do the Igandra, I suppose. Then I've got that that attack. Draw a card, Pact of Negation, that's huge. It's counter unless you pay 1 I could play around, but I've got Pact of Negation for that, so let's get my tap land down, pass the turn. Yeah, this game's over. They can, I guess they could still cascade into something, you know, they get to have a thing that comes down that's not counterable. This is counterable. And once it resolves, I steal a land. And the dude is out of here. Alright. Conceded at 32 life. That's why life total is a good resource. Because sometimes it could be 1,000,000 and you will still lose. So the fun thing about this scenario is, if our opponent's commander actually mattered anymore, they could do Minimus Containment. This is one of the cards that I was kind of excited about as well. You turn your opponent's permanent into a treasure, and if they ever use that treasure for mana, it puts it in the graveyard, allowing the Tameshi to return it again. So you can basically perpetually give your opponent's commander a loss of all abilities and make it just a treasure, which is kind of funny. And yeah, we're really not too fussed about that. But yeah, this game is extremely over. I steal one of their lands, so, you know, that offsets Tameshi a little bit. I think we've got Midnight Clock to bring back. We can bring that Cast Out if they play anything relevant. We also could do Immortal Sun as well, cost reducing and drawing me extra cards. And yeah, it's so over. It's so over. We've got an active as counter ready to go, treasure map scrying, and a threat on board, so yeah. Sweet. Well, that's going to do it for today's video. Overall, I will say this deck it's fun. It's extremely fun. And it's kind of a wrinkly brain deck from my experience. You can go wrong quite easily with this one. So quite a fair few of your losses will probably be your fault. That being said, we did get Banefired in one of our losses today. That could have been played around if I ever considered Banefire in anyone's deck, but that one didn't cross my mind. Yeah, as we saw, we died on like -1, and I had a Radiant Fountain I chose not to keep. That Radiant Fountain would have put me on 1, and then we could basically just keep bouncing that Radiant Fountain forever using Tameshi, and just gain life, which gets ahead of our opponent playing 1 land a turn. But, of course, you can't play around cards you don't know exist, so we lost that match, which we were otherwise, I think, going to win. So, yeah, deck's pretty sweet. It's a lot of fun. I recommend it because it's fun. I don't know if I recommend it because it's competitive. It's kind of hard to tell at this point with the mixed results that we've had, but as I said, one of the losses could have been a win quite easily. Other than that, though, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe if you want to see some more Brawl content in the future. And without further ado, gonna end it off here. Take care and peace.